Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday at noon Arizona Mountain Standard Time, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Of course, that'll all change when the time change comes, although Arizona stays the same. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other therapist for that matter. And I am proud to be sponsored by BetterHelp, BetterHelp, BetterHelp with a P / Chris Godinez. So BetterHelp.com, BetterHelp.com / Chris Godinez. So that is my sponsor, and they are an international online counseling company. In other words, doesn't matter where in the world you are. If you need a therapist, you can get on there and you can get into a U.S. therapist here. If you live in the U.S. and you live in a small town and you want to see a counselor that's not in your little teeny tiny town, they can put you with a therapist in your state, somewhere in your state. It's online, and that's it. And if you don't like your therapist, you go back online, say, I don't like my therapist, I want a new one, fill out a couple of questions, bada bing, bada boom, they put you with a different therapist. So Better, Better, help with a P, H-E-L-P, BetterHelp.com / Chris Godinez. I will put that down in the description. So today, questions. And there's some really interesting ones. All right, so diving into that. What's the difference between someone who is demonic and someone who's narcissistic? Whoo! Y'all are jumping into the realm of theology now. So really, I can't really answer that because I'm not a theologian, but I will say this. If it walks like a demonic narcissistic duck and quacks like a demonic narcissistic duck and takes a doo-doo like a demonic narcissistic duck, you may in fact be dealing with, a demonic narcissistic duck. But it would be a good idea to talk to a theologian about that. So it is a fascinating topic. And having read some interesting things from the Catholic Church in particular that does exorcisms, they have some views on that. So if you are interested in that, I would strongly suggest that you go research that with a religious person. So, I mean, I have my opinions, but yeah, it's a fascinating discussion, but can't really go into that because I'm not a religious expert. So I would strongly suggest you go talk to a religious expert, and it really will be a fascinating conversation. So, because I have done that. So anyway, all right, moving on. What is your opinion on RTT therapy for Cptsd? I don't know a whole lot about it, but I have read that it can be effective with Cptsd. So investigate it, go online, look it up, talk to people who've done it, research. And if it sounds interesting to you and it sounds like it might help, then try it. I don't know that much about it, so I can't really give you an opinion one way or the other because I don't know. But yeah, go do your own research, do your own due diligence, see if this is the right therapy for you. That's what I recommend for anybody looking into therapy. It's like, okay, CBT, DBT, which one should I go for? So yeah, so check it out, read up on it, see if it looks promising, then go for it. Yeah, absolutely. Can you talk a little about the grieving of having to walk away from the whole family and town? I didn't realize that I was grieving more than just my mom's passing. Wow. When we walk away from a toxic situation, a toxic family, toxic person, whatever, sometimes we end up having to walk away from everything. That means not just the person or sometimes when a healthier parent dies and that leaves the narcissist and the flying monkeys and things like that, we end up losing a lot more than we were bargaining for. It's like, okay, we knew that this person was dying, but we didn't expect to have to lose the town, or we didn't expect to have to leave the state, or we didn't have to expect to lose all the cousins and aunts and uncles and things like that. It is a huge grieving process, and it's really disheartening when the target of abuse or when the child, the scapegoat or whatever, realizes, oh, hey, these people really did not have my best interest at heart, and oh my gosh, I can't be around any of them, and I was kind of protected by this one parent. That's best case scenario, is the parent did what they could to protect you. But when that happens and they die, and then now there's nobody there to be the buffer, it's kind of like, oh, wow, I'm doing a lot of heavy lifting, a lot of heavy grieving. So really what you do is you grieve. You allow yourself to feel sad or angry or whatever it is that's coming up for you. That is all normal. Write and burn letters, dear people that really are abusive. It makes me very angry that I can't live in the same town. It makes me very angry I can't live in the same state. It makes me very angry that the cousins and the aunts and the uncles are all torn apart. That's what happened in my family. So, write it out. Get it out of your head. Get it onto paper. Take it out to the barbecue. Read it out loud once. Burn it. And don't make yourself wrong. Don't make yourself wrong. It is a huge grieving process. And you're grieving oftentimes more than just the death of a parent or the death of that person. It may be grieving the loss of what you thought you had in a family. Again, it's the masks are slipping and the illusion is going away. Reality is happening and you're having to go, oh, wow, I didn't even. So yeah, gentle with you, write it out, get it out of your head, get it onto paper, trot it out to the barbecue, read it out loud once, burn it. Don't deny your feelings. Don't, wallow in them, but don't deny them. Acknowledge them, process them, let it go. That's the best thing you can do. Okay, how do you overcome guilt when faced with the disingenuous "but why" by the family of origin after going no contact? Well, if you've gone no contact, they shouldn't be able to say "but why" to you. So what you want to do is you want to, when you go no contact, you really truly want to go no contact. You don't have any means for them to get a hold of you, okay? If they do the disingenuous "but why" somehow through like a flying monkey or whatever, you don't have to answer. And as far as the guilt is concerned, that's their intent. So remember, any relationship that causes you to feel fearful, obligated, or guilty, and it's like a guilt trip, like a real I'm sending you on a guilt trip kind of thing. Fearful, obligated, or guilty is a toxic relationship. You want literally nada to do with that. And if you went no contact to save your sanity, you have nothing to feel guilty about. You are taking care of you. I would strongly suggest get with a good therapist. Work on that guilt. So one way to work on the guilt is self-esteem. The Self-Esteem Workbook by Glenn Schiraldi, or You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero, because it's all about knowing your own worth. If you were not related to these people, would you have anything to do with them? And if the answer is no, act accordingly. You're doing the right thing. If they were abusive, harmful, made you feel like doo-doo every single time you were with them, then yeah, you have nothing to feel guilty about. They're trying to hook you back into the game because once the scapegoat leaves, remember, once the scapegoat leaves, the rest of the family is now playing a game of not it. They're trying desperately not to be the next scapegoat because the abuser will fill in that role with one of them, especially if you're not responding, especially if you're not playing, especially if you're not giving them whatever it is they are looking for. So when the guilt pops up, I would write the guilt a go pound sand letter. Dear guilt, go pound sand. I have nothing to feel guilty about. I refuse to feel guilty. I refuse to live in the fear, the obligation, or the guilt, which is otherwise known as the fog. I'm not going to play the game again. I'm not going to have contact with these people. I am doing what is best for me. Have a nice life, guilt. Go pound sand. Love me. Go burn it. Yep, let it go. Get with a good therapist and start working on that. The Disease to Please by Harriet Breaker. What are you feeling guilty about? Who are you trying to caretake? Who's telling you that you have to take care of them? Who's telling you that you have to make them feel better? See where I'm going with that? So yeah, it is disingenuous. And if you recognize it as disingenuous, you need to have a little chat with your inner child. Hey, little one, they're guilt tripping us. We don't need to play this. We don't need to fall for this. So the Inner Child Workbook by Catherine Taylor. Great book. Get it, read it, do it. So yep, that's what I think. Is there a DBT workbook you recommend? Any of them? Seriously? I mean, you just find one that resonates with you and then pick it and go. Seriously, that is the best way to do it. What if the abuser was also a victim, but they're abusive as well, and they are targeting you? You go no contact. It doesn't matter what their story is. It doesn't matter that, oh, poor me, this happened to me. Oh, poor me, I was victimized by my family. Well, then why the hell are you turning around and doing it to the rest of the family? You know, it doesn't matter how old they are either. You know, it's like if they do the whole, well, but I'm your grandfather, your father, your mother, your grandmother, whatever, you know, you should respect me. I'm under no obligation to be around anybody who's abusive. Have a nice life. Bye-bye. You know, so you just get away from them. You don't owe them anything. Fear, obligation, guilt. If that's what you're feeling, run. Do not walk to the nearest exit. Again, if you were not related to this person, would you have anything to do with them? If the answer is no, act accordingly. Absolutely. How do you shake off scapegoating, underperforming if you are already many years no contact? So what happens to a scapegoat is they get told, you're not smart enough, you're not good enough, you can't do this, you can't do that, don't you dare be better than me, blah, 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 blah. So then that child grows up constantly underperforming, constantly shooting themselves in the foot, constantly self-sabotaging. So what you want to do is you want to get with a good therapist. So the good news is you've gone no contact. Good job, keep going, no contact. Then you want to get with a good therapist and you want to start working on self-esteem. Because people who love themselves do not self-sabotage. They do not. So the Self-Esteem Workbook by Glenn Schiraldi or You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. Get with a good therapist. Start doing the mirror work. Hi, good to see you. Have a great day. I give you permission to be successful. It's okay. And then walk out. Yep, start doing that. That's the best way to start doing it. And half of the battle is going no contact. The other half of the battle is reparenting yourself. So the Inner Child Workbook by Catherine Taylor, Cptsd From Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker. These are all books you're going to want to work on to get that self-esteem back up and to clearly put the blame, the shame, the guilt, the anger, whatever, back onto where it belongs, which is with the abuser. Absolutely. And to be successful, you have a right to be successful. And you can tell yourself that. I have a right to be successful. Tell yourself that in the mirror. Do the mirror work. Absolutely. How do you help the inner child when verbal, if not physical violence is very possible? You get the hell out of the abusive relationship. You absolutely do. Can you heal while you're still in an abusive relationship? To a certain extent, yes. However, inner child work is very vulnerable. And if the abuser knows that you're working on yourself, they are going to sabotage. They are going to make sure you can't do it. They're going to make sure you don't have any space, or they're going to make it very dangerous for you. So you do not really want to be doing the inner child work stuff until you are out of the abusive relationship. You can work on self-esteem, to be sure, while you're still in the abusive relationship. You can work on an escape plan, to be sure. You can work on boundaries, to be sure. But when you want to start doing the inner child work is when you've already left the abusive relationship. So let me just be clear about that. How do you deal when they took your child away and brainwashed them and you couldn't do anything about it, having a hard time? It was just paralyzing. Okay, so that's parental alienation. So oftentimes when a target and an abuser divorce, the abuser will then engage in parental alienation. They will badmouth the good parent to the kid and get them on their side. And the kid feels a very split loyalty because the abuser is, think of it this way. How many questions on guilt did I have? The abuser uses guilt like a cudgel. They'll just, hit the kid over the head with it. Feel guilty, feel guilty, feel guilty. If you're not with me, you should feel guilty. If you don't agree with me, you should feel guilty. And so the kid's loyalties are very much split. This is why it's so important that if you are divorcing someone who is abusive, in the court documents, in the divorce decree, you get to choose the counselor. Or the child is allowed to have mental health counseling because they will try to stop it from happening. Or they will try to pick a counselor who does not know their hind end from a hole in the ground. Do you see where I'm going with that? So you want to make sure that you've got counseling in place. If, however, it's all said and done, the ex has brainwashed the kid, there's no relationship now between you and the child because the ex has done such an excellent job of splitting loyalty and causing guilt, and the kid has picked the scarier parent instead of staying with the safer parent, and that's often what happens because they're trying to appease, they're fawning. That's when you fawn, when you give in to a predator as opposed to sticking with the safer parent. All you can do at that point is offer them counseling when they're an adult. You know, they turn 18. Hey, I know that you and I have not had a great relationship. I know that your dad has told you some things that may or may not be true. I would very much like to go to counseling to repair our relationship. And that's all you can do. And if they say no, okay, then every once in a while you offer it. And they may never come around. They may not. But if they do, great. Then, you know, go to a therapist that understands high conflict divorce and parental alienation. One of the channels that you may want to go to is Dad's Surviving Divorce. That's Dwayne Robert. He has a whole series of videos on the parental alienation and what to do. So yeah, that's a good thing to do. So and unfortunately, this is a common thing in divorce situations with an abuser, and especially a narcissist, because they want to hurt you the best way, or the hardest way, the nastiest way, in their minds the best way, but the nastiest way they can, which is to take away your own child. So yeah, so that's all you can do. It's like, insist on therapy, okay, and if you know they've completely brainwashed them, the kid has no relationship with you, then when they become an adult, you offer, hey, let's go to therapy and fix our relationship. And that's all you can do. That's all you can do. If something is precious to me, I don't enjoy sharing it. What does this say about my childhood? Okay, so abusers love to destroy things that are important. They destroy objects. They'll destroy keepsakes. They'll destroy they'll try to ruin your birthday, your wedding, your graduation, your anniversary, your anything that's an important day. Or if there's something that is important to you, valuable to you, like sentimental value, oops, it accidentally got thrown away. Oops, it accidentally got crushed. Oops, it accidentally got, you know, fill in the blank. They'll do that with animals too. They'll kill the dog, kill the cat, you know, let the dog or cat out of the, you know, fenced in yard or whatever, intentionally, not go look for it, etc., etc., etc. Do you see where I'm going with that? So, yeah, they do that because they enjoy inflicting pain. They are dark triads: narcissist, psychopath, control freak, and sadistic. They enjoy inflicting pain. And if there's something that was important, it probably got taken away. What does that have to do with your childhood? I would take a look at what was important to you that got taken away. You know, what things did you cherish or that were precious to you that you're afraid to share because you're afraid of it being taken away. So that would be something to, you know, start journaling about. Get with a good therapist and start working on what was going on in your childhood. What happened to things that were precious to you? Did somebody destroy it? Did somebody lose it? Did somebody kill it? Did somebody, you know, fill in the blank? So yeah, start doing Inner Child Workbook, Catherine Taylor, Self-Esteem Workbook, Glenn Schiraldi, Disease to Please, Harriet Breaker, Cptsd, From Surviving to Thriving, Pete Walker, etc., etc., etc. All these books will help. All right, so again, I'm sponsored by BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. They are an online, online counseling company, and they will set you up with an online counselor. So BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. And I will have that down in the comments as well. They are a good place to go find a therapist. All right. So on Sunday, I want to talk about taking your power back. So often, and especially with these comments, this kind of triggered that. So often when we're dealing with leaving an abuser, whether there is a child involved or not, we tend to hand our power over to the abuser or over to things. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to be victims. We don't want to be constantly angry. We don't want to be constantly sad or depressed or anxious or whatever. It's time to take our power back. And it's time to take our power away from all of these abusers. So how to do that? That's what I want to talk about this Sunday. So the title of the episode is going to be Taking Your Power Back, because that's what we're going to do. How to stay calm when you're dealing with an abuser in the middle of a divorce. How to stay grounded and level. So that's what we're going to talk about, because that's taking your power back. Because really, they just want us to go, wah, and lose our minds. So not going to happen. Not today, Satan. So yeah. So that's what we're going to do. Taking your power back. All right, kids. Have a great day, and I will talk to you soon.